Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first session of Tech Talk. We're here at the Product Support Center in beautiful Woodridge, Illinois, coming to you live. I'm Paul McKee, and I'll be your host. For the next 20 minutes or so, we'll be talking about Fault Ranker and how it can help you navigate through seemingly difficult diagnosis and/or repairs. During the discussion, if you have any questions or comments, I encourage you to write them into the comments section. Our moderator will display it in live time so I can answer them. If all goes well, the last 10 minutes or so will be used for additional questions and a recap of the presentation. So if everybody's ready, let's get started. Let's begin with a short history lesson. In 2015, Fault Ranker was introduced as a way to help figure out which engine fault to go to first. It was a little clunky. It required that you actually take the codes and input them into an Excel spreadsheet. The system is based on something called an FMI hierarchy, and if you're not familiar with that, I'd like to explain it. I pulled this study guide from our N910 web-based training course, and I'd like to read it to you. The FMI hierarchy defines the FMI into three categories: circuit, component, and system faults. When more than one FMI is present, first diagnose circuit FMIs. Secondly, diagnose component FMIs. And finally, diagnose system FMIs. Occasionally, component FMIs 2, 13, and 14 may need to be diagnosed first. For the most up-to-date information, of course, use the appropriate engine diagnostic manual found in Service Portal. So what does this mean? Circuit FMIs 3, 4, 5, and 19. These FMI direct diagnostics to specific circuit failures. Understand this as opens, shorts, high resistance, and communication failures. Of course, we want to fix those first, because if it's not plugged in right, it's not going to work right. Next, component FMI 2, 7, 11, 13, and 14. These FMI direct diagnostics towards a monitored system component failure or other components associated with the operation of a system. Know this is a broken part, an EGR or throttle valve stuck, turbo not spooling up or simply not showing boost, low fuel pressure or temperature sensors that read out of range. Fix these second. And last, system FMI 0, 1, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, and 31. These FMI direct diagnostics to a loss of efficiency. Efficiency and performance, in the monitored system. Some FMIs are an indication of a higher emissions being produced. So these are monitors. Now, think of it like this. Everything is plugged in and works, but the ECM fails to see a desired result. An example would be miscalibrated math, clogged EGR cooler, poisoned DOC. Think of it as everyone showed up at school, but they aren't playing well together at recess. Because these are the most ambiguous faults, we attack them last. So this is where it started. Moving forward, the ranker becomes embedded in the health report. We no longer had to actually go through the process of putting it in an Excel spreadsheet, but it was still only working for our engines. It doesn't work for Cummins. Cummins has their own system, and PSI required that you do it the old-fashioned way, like we did. So where are we now? Next to me is a 2019 MV with a Cummins B67. I went in and broke some things. So let's run a health report and see what happens. Follow me. I've already connected the scan tool, Hero, and my comm link. I'm going to go ahead and key it up. We'll establish communications. I've got Hero up and running. We'll connect and scan. We'll see how long this takes us to get a health report uploaded. I am cheating a little bit. I do have a health report pulled up from earlier in case this takes too long. Oh, it's moving right along. Detecting faults. As we go. Okay, while it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and minimize, and I'm going to go over to Service Portal. Oops, I apologize. Let's do this and this. There we go. I had way too much stuff open. So our vehicle, KH333633, let's pull that back up. Well, let's just pretend I did that because I already have it up and on here. And I better refresh or I won't get the latest and greatest, will I? KH333633. We go to connection. Here we go. Come on. Here we go. All right. So did our newest, latest, and greatest come up? Apparently not. It won't make a whole lot of difference. I did not change the fault that I put in there. And so here's our health report. For the most part, it looks exactly the same as you're used to, but we've changed what you're seeing as far as the columns are concerned under complete vehicle ranked faults. So now not only are we actually ranking the engine faults, but we're bringing in all the faults from the other systems on the vehicle also. And we have a new fault ranking sequence or number sequence to indicate what faults to go after first. The one on the top of the screen, 1.1, indicates what we need to look at first. So I have a little explanation pulled up for that. How do I know which fault to start with? Did I jump off? The fault with the lowest sequence number is the highest priority within the ranking group. So this is kind of like how we did with computer program numbers. If you've got a 2.0, 3.0, what you need to know is the lowest number here is the most important. Some ranking groups may have the same sequence number or priority. In these instances, the technician should analyze the faults present within each ranking group and align the faults with the customer concerns to determine which ranking group to start diagnosis with. So what are we talking about here? Oops, I got to make sure I go to the right one. I'm going to go back to my health report. Sorry, apologize. There we go. All right. Oh, I am going to look at an explanation for our sequence in the I know article relative to the fault code ranker. So I'm going to take a look at, oops, go to the right page, come on. There we go. Oh no. Uh-oh, what did I do? I'm trying to. Oh, there we go. Yep, there we go. Live action plan resource. And from the live action plan resource, I'm going to click into the I know article, SH25000011. This gives us an explanation of what's really going on here. The ranking logic has been improved and is fully modular, allowing for easier changes and refinements as feedback is received and new components are released. The new fault code ranker includes ranking priority for diagnostic trouble codes. That's what we've been using. Synthetic fault codes, we'll talk about that in just a moment. Campaigns, pretty self-explanatory, and symptom codes generated by Accelerator. This is going to be really handy later as we move through this discussion. So also, we have new ranking groups. So there's the high priority ranking group, the engine ranking group, the transmission and chassis ranking groups, driver safety, campaign, symptoms, and maintenance. Each of these could be listed on the health report. And within those ranking groups, and I'm going to bounce back to my health report, each of those ranking groups will be listed under the sequence with its priority. So number 2, in this instance right here, indicates a second ranking group with a #1 priority fault within that group. Notice a second ranking group here for transmission and shifter. That second ranking group has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different faults ranked in order of importance within that ranking group. Also, we have a 2.1, a 2.2, and a 2.3 for our chassis ranking group. What this particular truck is not showing me is symptoms. It's not showing me maintenance. It does have high priority. So high priority obviously is going to take my attention first. If I click on the 7002 SIN code, what is synthetic? So this is another one of those questions that gets asked me all the time in the classes. Synthetic versus ghost codes. And a lot of you have run across ghost codes, and this is a little bit disturbing because we don't quite understand what to do with them. Synthetic codes are generated by us, okay? What I mean by that is when you upload a health report, we will take a look at those various different codes, and if there is some application that we need to put to this, it'll become a synthetic code. Do you ignore those? No, absolutely not. They become more important. Synthetic codes mean we have some insight as to what you need to be looking at, and we're trying to direct your attention to it. Ghost codes, unfortunately, are codes that generate onto the CAN system without an emitter. There's no source address along with them. They can actually be created by electrical anomalies like magnetic interference or modules going to sleep. One of my favorite ones is actually connecting to a vehicle that's gone to sleep with a scan tool, and it immediately creates a ghost code. So ghost codes will not be listed in the fault ranker at all. You may see them on the initial hero report, but they won't come through here, and that's what we want to emphasize. So back to that. Oops. It shut off on me. Back to that. If I look at the synthetic 100 code, this is for Cummins. If I go over to it, I already have it pulled up. Fault code action plan links me over to QuickServe Online. I have QuickServe Online open, and this is a product improvement calibration campaign, which means we're updating the ECM for better performance. So probably not going to help me with active fault codes, but we wanted to look and make sure. As I look back at my health report, I'm going to scroll down my list. Notice that all of these in my engine ranking group are previously active. I look further down. I have driver safety ranking group, battery voltage too low. That's an indication. Transmission and shifter ranking group, chassis ranking group. The transmission and shifter, those are, of course, are all previously active. If I look at my chassis ranking group, I have 1 active code. So as we go a little bit further down the health report, it's going to give you an idea which way we want to go with this. Because we've looked at the ranking within these groups, but let's take some common sense and apply it here. We've got 1 active code, and we do not have any customer symptoms listed in the ranking group, which means we did not hook this truck to accelerator. So the customer symptom in this case is going to be the wipers are inoperative. As we look at these fault codes, we come back down and we see wiper on-off relay undercurrent or open circuit. It is active, and it listed as a priority 1 in that ranking group. So of course, if I go around the other side of the vehicle and I open up the fuse panel cover, you're going to find out that there's a relay laying next to the relay center, not in the relay center. And that would explain exactly why I've got the code. So moving through the list, one of the things I want to point out is that the fault ranking still kind of applies the same way the old system did it. Those FMIs still really do indicate faults with circuits and components and systems. If you have a system, and I'm going to go back to that I know article for a second. When I find it. If you have a system that's listed in here, I'm not going to go there. If you have a system that is covered with fault code ranker and it is throwing faults, and it's compared to another fault code or a system throwing fault codes and fault code ranker, and they both have a 2.1, how do you know which one to go after? So the order possible, there's no ranking for the fault code component. Let me go back here to make some sense out of this. I'm sorry, I'm wandering off the reservation for a second. Your engine ranking group, your high priority ranking group, your driver safety ranking group, and your transmission and shifter ranking group, the ones listed on this particular health report, don't have a priority to themselves. What you have is equal weight to the ranker. So each of these is listed as a second priority, at number 2 in the left side of the decimal. If we look at the high priority 1 to the right of the decimal, we know that if we're going after that driver safety ranking group, battery voltage too low would be the one we chase after first. But does that make more sense to go after that or the accelerator pedal position first? In this case, an accelerator pedal position would have a direct, or a fault for accelerator pedal position would have a direct bearing on battery voltage too low. So you definitely want to go after battery voltage too low first. Wiper on-off relay, also an electrical circuit. 3, 4, 5, 19 is actually a communication fault, but a 3, 4, or 5. Electric horn under current, right low beam open circuit. That's one I put in, but I neglected to turn the headlights on so it didn't go active. The point of this exercise is to be able to use all the information on the page and determine whether or not the fault code you're chasing down is going to lead to a solution quickly. There's a lot of information on the page. We want you to focus on that left column, find the highest priority column, find the highest priority group and the highest priority code. Look over at the description, look over at the code. Notice the status. Synthetic takes precedence over active because it may actually solve the problem first, but then active and then previously active. In this case, active, wiper on-off relay. 1 count for that key cycle. Curiously though, accelerator pedal position came up 18 times previously active. So whoever was messing with this truck before me actually wanted to set that multiple times. And then on the right column over here, we have some special notes. Pay attention to the special notes. In this case, the ranking is not currently defined for this fault code. In order to determine this fault ranking priority, contact component manufacturer for assistance. Comments. But the FCAP will direct you directly over to Insight. If I go back onto that, not Insight, Quick Serve Online, it goes back over and there's our fault code action plan. And as I said earlier, it runs you over to Quick Serve. Just opening it again. Oops. Yeah, all right. I'm already open. We'll close that out. It runs you over to here. So the system works pretty good. For those of you who are spending time diagnosing vehicles based on fault codes, we're recommending that you actually pay attention to this and spend a little bit of time deciphering what it says. So for that note, I'm looking for question. Oh, okay. So question, does the fault code ranker work with International CV platform? So right now, International CV has fault code action plans, but not necessarily a fault code ranker. Keep in mind that it ranks based on PO codes, not SPNs and FMIs. If you would like to ask any questions, any live questions, please type in any questions you may have in the comments section. Our folks behind the counter will actually put them up on the screen for me. I'm sorry, what do you? Oh, in the meantime, be sure to check. In the meantime, be sure to check out the Tech Talk page on the LMS for any additional information, including future topics and then feedback on this session especially. Love to hear what you have to say. All right, No questions? I'm looking at my moderators and they're telling me there's nothing really there. I don't want to come up too short here. Nothing? Okay. So that concludes our little discussion of fault code ranker, and I appreciate your time. I hope you join us for the next session. Have a pleasant day.